Hello, welcome, and good morning. Hello again there, friends and fans. Raptor here, and welcome to our first base in Starfield. And thanks to Bethesda for giving us early access to the game, which you may have seen before on the channel. Just a little bit ago, we were able to take our first look at the main quest, side quests, and a lot of the content the game has to offer. But now, for the first time, I'm building a base and learning how to do so. So thanks to them for sponsoring today's video about how to build a base, how to get started, really, as that is something we do all the time here on the channel, building and base building and survival, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. Wow, look at those creatures down there. Pretty cool, too. All right, so welcome aboard. Good to see you all here. Now, I'm sure many of you are experts at Starfield by now, and or many of you have figured out all the subtle nuances to building a base, and for those of you who haven't and are getting started, don't worry, we've got you covered. I'm pretty good at these types of games, but I'm not the best by any means, and so for those of you who are watching, make sure you comment down below in the comment section on some things we may have missed, some things you may have learned, and some things that you'd recommend for new players, intermediate, and advanced when it comes to building a base in Starfield. Well, welcome aboard the ship known as the Loot Goblin, which we've obtained via some bounty hunters and have modified it quite a few times to store more and more things, to be able to, of course, build more things, and of course, go into missions with better loot, better weapons, better armor. But now it's time we settle down and build a base to take those resources and make them even better, to make more things and better things for bigger money. Well, we've got a lot of money in this game, and we've got ourselves a lot of missions behind us, but a very long way to go too, and of course building an outpost, as they call it, will help us along the way. Now, currently we're able to build up to 8 outposts, but there are skills that will allow us to build much more, and this is just a basic base that'll help us to gather some resources that we need to build an even bigger base, and more of them, such as aluminum, lead, iron, and a few other things. Well, here's a landing pad that we're on, which we can modify our ship. There's a good look at the Loot Goblin, too. I'm very proud of her. Such a good ship. So good. Love it. Love it so much. But anyway, once we leave our ship, we are certainly over-encumbered and have way too much stuff on us. As you can see, we have 600 out of 235, and the ship itself, oh, the poor ship, it's almost maxed out at, well, actually it is over maxed out at 830, so we got to put all of our loot somewhere, right? Well, welcome to the planet of Hala 2. Now, the hardest thing in this game so far for base building is where you're going to build a base. And I want to start the discussion by saying that we've already, in this game, flown around for about 2 or 3 hours going from system to system to find the perfect area to start our base, not only aesthetics-wise, but also resource-wise. Now, if you want to know exactly where I am, I'm east of the starting area of Alpha Centauri. You'll be spending a lot of your time around this area, and this is where you'll find the town of New Atlantis, which is just southeast of Sol, which is where Earth is. Although, unfortunately, well, you'll have to find out what happened to that one. Now, when I refer to directions, yeah, we all know there's not directions in space, but the map can't be rotated, so this is pretty helpful for players to navigate to the east, where you can see we've gone all the way past Voli, where you might find the planet of, or the city of Neon, and just a few jumps from there through Porima, you'll find yourself to Hala, or Hala. So, this is a very, very good little star system, as of course we have ourselves 2 beautiful planets that are rich with resources. Now, right now we're on Hala 2. You can see the little symbol above the planet. And you can see that we're rich in aluminum, and that we've got some lead here and argon. We have gases, we have liquids, we have also minerals, and you can see a lot of information about it here. You can see that the gravity is 1.3 times more than Earth. It's got a temperate temperature, so we're talking about temperatures somewhere between like 15 to 25 degrees Celsius. That's somewhere around like between like 65 and 80 degrees Fahrenheit. There's also high O2, so we can walk around with our helmets off, and we don't necessarily need the protections that we would on a more barren or ice planet. Magnetosphere is average, so that protects us from some of the radiation from sun and space. And we also have a lot of flora and fauna here, animals and plants basically, and we can scan those to learn a lot more about the planet and make some money. As you can see, our survey data is at 40%, but the other planet I want to keep an eye on is Hala 1. So these 2 planets here where we'll build 2 bases so we can connect them together to then start smelting resources such as what you see here. And you may have already seen this for those of you who are watchful. Yeah, we have iron there, and that's something I'm tracking and keeping an eye on, because the planet we're currently on, which is Hala 2, has less than Hala 1, which is rich in iron and a little bit of uranium. There it is. Yeah, so we can see the resources here. If we press R, you can see the whole map for all those resources too, which is incredibly helpful. Yeah, we can see where all these resources may be found, and this could be a good spot for a future base. So if we click there, if we're inside the ship, it'll mark it and we'll be able to land there, and that could be a good place for a future outpost. So just keep that in the back of your mind for later, that this would be a great planet to return to for future operations. That's kind of step 2. I'm always thinking a few steps ahead, so that's why I've gone ahead and built a base here already to show to you. So let's jump back to Hyla 2 and take a little look around the base, shall we? Yeah. So here's our base now, complete with an airlock that you see in the middle of the screen, and the 2 habitats off to either side, one of which is for manufacturing, and the other which is my throne room. I'll get to that in a minute. Let's head down there. So this building that we've constructed that we're standing on now is known as the shipbuilding platform, and this is actually one of the biggest platforms in the game. We can have a huge ship here to where some of the ships only are allowed to be up to 40 meters. This one is allowed to be up to whatever the more maximum is in the game. Take a look at that. Shipbuilding in the game, yeah, we can do that at our base too, and a huge benefit to building an outpost is that we can summon all the ships that we've collected or that we've bought or acquired in other ways in the game by simply just going through them. I can't remember the maximum. I think it's somewhere between 8 and 13. You'll have to correct me down below in the comments section. But again, with this game being a game that will more than likely get updates and DLCs and other mods, that limit could be changed in the future. But for now, I think it's somewhere between those numbers. But we can summon any of these ships here, and these would be great at any time to go out and get other resources. Now, when we change ships here, and no matter where we change ships, our resources on our current ship, which again, remember is the Loot Goblin, will be transferred to some of these other smaller ships. So this one that's already bursting will be more than overflowing on some of these other ships. But if we had a much larger container ship here, we could switch to it now and put some of our resources inside and give ourselves some working room for our base and or future builds. So that way we can mine some of the resources and maybe move some things here. So if we go down the stairs, we see that we have ourselves an airlock in front of us. We can go inside the base here, but outside we already have a solar panel that's functioning on this planet that is rather deserty. There's a lot of rockiness to it, but there's some trees around and a lot of creatures too that you may have noticed at the start, almost like some dinosaurs. Now we can walk around this whole planet and scan for everything, including the lead that's below us, which is why we made this base here. You can kind of see where the resources go around, so we can find things like even iron here too, although in much lesser numbers than that of lead and also aluminum, which would be bauxite. But in this game they simplify it a little bit, and so that's a good thing for us, I suppose, when it comes to building a simple outpost. Now, when we want to build an outpost, we first start by going to our scanner like what you just saw before, and when we place down our beacon, I think we can press B or some button along those lines to place the beacon, which then kind of creates a territory. Now this can be plopped down. It creates a large area around us of I'm not sure exactly how large it is, but it's several hundred meters in all directions, a large circle to which we can build and mine inside. So all of these resources that are around us, such as lead and a few other things, such as I think gold is over here too, or silver. There's a few resources here mixed in, and they're really nice and close together. But we can find many different resources and mine them in this area around our base, and we can build extractors to do that. Now we'll get to that in a little bit, but I wanted to take you on a tour of the base and or the basic base and show you exactly how I got started. Might be easy for you to do too. Now we landed here randomly somewhere over there where you see the flat land, and I walked over and placed down the beacon, and then I started building things such as those little habitats. Now habitats can be built in different styles too. We have a lot of options in the game, and we'll go through these in just a little bit, but if you want to, now there's the throne room. You get it? A beautiful panoramic view of the mountains, the trees, the animals. It's gorgeous. Some derelict factories and some other things that we can go explore and ransack and bring those resources back. But I was able to place down this habitat, which is known as the hydroponic habitat, which in this case has windows instead of the optional walls, and so we can kind of change the interiors of some of our buildings too after we build them. This science hub here, for example, has a little window in it, but we can take that out if we want to too, or we can place the alternative, which is much more like a greenhouse. So very helpful to be able to choose what we want to do depending on, I guess, the style of the building that we're going for at the time. But anyway, nice thing is that we have a lot of space here to operate. We can put storage in here. We can put other types of workbenches in here. We can make a bedroom in here, or multiple bedrooms for our crew too, who can live and operate this facility. Now keep in mind, this facility will more than likely be kind of our main manufacturing hub, so everything that we mine, everything that we pump up and ship will be shipping here, so that way it can be turned into other goods like pharmaceuticals or weapon mods or ammunition that we can sell elsewhere. Now, everything you're also going to see today isn't everything that's in the game. In fact, this little research station here has pharmacology, food and drink, equipment, weaponry, but also outpost development, to where I've already gone ahead and unlocked this, Manufacturing 1. It's kind of an advanced manufacturing unit that kind of works automated wise. It can pull resources from your base and then make other goods and put them into a warehouse. So it basically is like an input-output thing that turns things from raw materials into a product, an intermediate product that you can use, such as frames for building a bigger base. So your base that you build at the start could be the base of operations for future bases, if you get it. That's just the basics. Anyway, yeah, we can upgrade and unlock better mining equipment. We can unlock better manufacturing equipment, decorations too, different types of lighting, and even this, a horticulture farm, which we can place outside too. And if we unlock additional skills, which you see at the top, botany and outpost engineering, we can come back to our bases later as we unlock more things and get more resources and make them even bigger, and then start doing things like food, which is really important and incredible in this game, because it gives you a little bit more than just food. It's not necessarily a survival game where you must eat or drink, otherwise you die. You can actually eat and drink to give you different types of bonuses for things like being persuasive, or providing protection against certain damage, whatnot. So all the things that you see here in the inventory could eventually be made here at our base. Don't mind that, I was a little hungry. But yeah, we can actually make all these different things that give us, as you see on the right side, restores oxygen, or gives us reload speed, or does additional damage to the enemy, or reduces the damage we could take. So these are all things that we can either make and use ourselves, or we could sell them for money, or give them to our allies, such as better guns and equipment like grenades and whatnot. We can give that to them to hold on to for us in combat, or we can give them better guns to shoot back at the enemy. Now, this is something that's really cool here. Each of these are a workbench that we can take control of and manufacture all sorts of different things. Here we have a spacesuit workbench that allows us to make spacesuits or mods. The weapon workbench that allows us to make weapons or mods for them. Pharmaceuticals, which allows us to make consumables such as drugs for persuasion, or just simply a health kit. We also have the cooking station that gives us access to more advanced food, which can then make us something like the sandwich, rather than just a small little meaty chunk or whatnot. And we can also do farming in terms of like animal husbandry. So there are options to also do those types of things, and the horticulture building, which is kind of like farming too, or hydroponics. So we can grow everything ourselves and then cook it here and make really advanced meals that give us big benefits. So think of it almost like a potion or something like that, but it's just food. Good food is a motivator. Industrial workbench here is the more manual version of the thing I just showed you, which allows us to make something that we'll need for today's purposes, the adaptive frame. So a lot of what our base requires some basic materials, but also some more advanced materials. Here the adaptive frame requires iron and aluminum to be made, and we're going to make 3 of those so we can make a storage unit to then start mining. We need that lead if we're going to make things like ammunition and whatnot. But regardless of what we mine, it will all be through the extractors. So again, whether it's iron or whether it's aluminum or lead, it's all going to be the same. Got it? Okay. Well, kind of the same. You'll see what I mean. Anyway, a little pit stop though. I wanted to make mention that these interiors are completely customizable too, not only just on the outside walls and the building itself when we place it, but also we can place additional storage on the inside. So these storage crates here I think can hold up to like 125 or 150 mass, and so we can store all sorts of different personal goods here, like weapons and armor and whatnot, that these crates can either we can grab some stuff from here and make it manually, or we can just keep this as kind of a safe house for our less than legal goods, contraband and things that we've stolen. We can put in these boxes too and then come back to later, or just use as kind of an overflow storage if we want to get some stuff off the ship or come back to later. Or like me, I like to collect certain things and never give them up because I think they're pretty cool, so I keep them in a collection here until I can build something like a display case to put them on later, or something like that. So we have all these options then for like a crew's quarters and a manufacturing room, and then of course the little area here for, I don't know, shipping and receiving. But this is just a small basic base and just an example of what we can build with all the things we gather. So keep in mind that a lot of those things can be manufactured by our crew. Now our crew, which you may meet at the beginning of the game when you go to New Atlantis, of course people of the Constellation group will be able to help you in mining and manufacturing, so you can have them manage these bases too. So with this being our manufacturing base and with the other base on Halo 1 being our mining base, we could immediately put 2 people to work in managing these bases and trying to create resources that we need, or at least intermediate products that maybe we can come back here and make ourselves. Maybe it would be better for us to have them make every part that we might use, and then we decide what to make out of them, so that way we have a little bit more options. Or hell, just bring all the resources here, all the raw resources, and we can choose what to make them out of, or them into, really. Alright, now that we've built our base, let's say, and I'll show you how to do this in a little bit, now we want to start extracting. We have a place to store all of our goods, we have a safe place for our starship, so if we get bored of this and want to go do a side mission, or if we need some money or other resources, we can leave. Now it's time for the good stuff, the extractions. Right, so let's say you're mining anything, literally anything. It could be argon, it could be neon, it could be water, or in this case it could be lead. Well, here's how we're going to do it. Pull out your scanner and go to the surface map, or rather the outpost button, whatever you have it assigned to, and go ahead and look through all the things that you want to build. In this case, we're going to be building an extractor for not fluorine, but lead. Yeah, it actually automatically selects wherever you're kind of aiming. So as you can see, this one's for silver. We've got silver nearby somewhere over here. Well, we're going to go for lead for now. Now you can see they're all pretty much the same. They look the same, but they're just designed for different types of materials. Maybe the drill bit is different. But we're going to go ahead and put this next to this thing here, this rotating table, which is a solar panel. Now in this game, it seems in Starfield that, and I'm not sure just yet, I'm still learning a little bit, but it looks like all of the well, we'll get to that in just a moment. But all the power that we produce is not necessarily needed by the buildings, but is needed by the extractors and other equipment we build outside. In other words, the buildings are self-sufficient and they can power everything that you saw inside through like solar panels or something on their own. No additional cost for you to build that. But things that we build outside, such as the solar panel and the mining equipment here, can be connected. Now, we didn't have to connect it yet because the solar panel and this automatically connected via the power grid, and so this lead mining equipment will automatically do its thing on its own, but we have the option to connect them ourselves and wire everything up. So if you're a big fan of Factorio or Satisfactory, you can take the time to build all these different networks yourself, or you could just have it do it automatically. It gives you the option. It's rather simple, but it lets you be a little bit more advanced so you can do things how you'd like to. Now, another cool thing about this game, and one thing that really impressed me and I didn't expect to see, was when we go to the outpost builder, if we go to one of the first things that we need is power, over on the left side you can see solar generators work best on planets that receive a lot of sunlight. Well, this is a huge desert planet with not a lot of tree coverage or whatnot, so not only does that mean it's good for the sun to give us solar power, but also windmills. So wind turbines can also come into play here. So if we go, yeah, check this out. We can do a top-down menu and look at our base this way. So if we go to our power tab, we can see the wind turbines here can also produce 10 power. Now there's not a lot of trees here, a lot of open desert, so they're going to kick up a lot of wind, and so we can build wind turbines for 10 with different required materials, or solar arrays. Now they both require different things, and some things are more common than not, so you might need to mix between the two, but we can also build fuel generators, and those can be fueled by helium-3, which is something that you can find on the moon and many other planets. So you can do solar power, wind power, or kind of like a fuel. I haven't seen nuclear or whatnot, but we can also build powered switches too, which I want to give a little bit of an example to, so we'll probably place that down there and show how all that works. Cool. So right now the solar panel is automatically supplying this thing with power, and this requires, I believe, I think it's 6 power that this is making, and this requires 5. So we'll need to make multiple power stations to power the multiple mines. But let's say we had 2 mines here. One was mining lead and one was mining silver, and we're just completely out of resources to build additional power. Well, we can actually use this to toggle things together and also kind of more control our base, take a little bit more control, which is fun. So here's how to do it. And here's how to basically do everything that we're about to do. So we need to access the scanner, and we need to go to this menu here by pressing tab, which is kind of the modify menu. And here, as you can see, we can do all sorts of things like move buildings around. It's really helpful. We can move anything at any time if we want to. We can move our airlock or delete it, and we get all of our resources back. So if we want to build a bigger base, a smaller base, or change our base, that allows us to do that. Now for this particular power producing building, we can hold E on this one, and we get access to wire it. That's right. So we can either wire directly to the little switch over there, or we can wire to the miner. In this case, we're going to wire to the switch, to which this will allow us to break off to other machines. So if we had a huge power grid, we could then connect everything to here, and then we could maybe make 2 separate power grids. Maybe one power grid could be for our defenses, because we can be attacked. There are defenses in this game, and we can be attacked, so it's a good idea to maybe put those on a different power grid, so that way you can manage that a little bit more intensely. Maybe that way, so if you're building a bigger base and run out of power, it doesn't take your defenses offline. But in this case, we can build like ballistic turrets, we can build tick turrets, and we can also build laser turrets. So as you'd imagine, it's a good idea to make sure you've got your defenses always running, so you can put them on their own solar grid or wind grid, and then you can put the machines on another, so you can keep track of things. So just keep that in mind. So this is a great way to separate those things and also keep track of what you're doing. So back to our build menu then. And we're going to go ahead and wire this up as well from here to here. And now our machine is powered again. Now if we want to cut off this power and send it to a different machine, we can build another switch back here. And so this switch can then be switched to 2 switches, and we can kind of turn off the main power, or like breakers where we can then turn off one mining equipment or the other. Think of it like this. This would be 0, this would be 1 and 2, and then the mining machines would be 1 and 2, and you can turn them on and off to manage the power. Plain and simple. It's pretty cool, and I like it. And I did not expect to see that, so I was delighted to see some customization like that. Now, the next thing I want to show you is how we're going to store all this lead that we're mining. So again, remember, this planet is rich with resources, tons of them everywhere, and we're going to need to be able to store them. So now we get into not the individual storage, which you may have seen upstairs with those different crates, but we want to build an automated storage. So back to the same menu, back to our outpost, and back to building new stuff under storage. We go to the storage tab. You can see that we have a transfer container. Now this is where we're going to be able to transfer goods from other planets to and from. So if we want to ship things from here or to here, this transfer container, and also the miscellaneous here for things like the cargo link and the cargo link intersystem, these will all be used together to link things either between this planet or other planets to get them to where they need to go. In other words, a ship will come down and land at a landing beacon or whatnot, kind of like this, concrete square, 40 by 40, and it'll drop off things, kind of like that. There it is. Perfect. So you can kind of see what that looks like. So you'll have to make sure that, you know, if you want to land on a landing pad like this, that your ship is no longer than 40 meters. And you can see that in the shipbuilding menu, and it starts from the middle. So if you see 20 in one direction and 26 in another, it's a little too long. That means you're at 46. So just keep in mind that you can only land on these smaller platforms, and so if you want to do some of the space trucking yourself and bring a huge load of, for example, iron from another planet to this planet, and you want to drive it yourself because you can be a frickin' space trucker in this game, then you got to do it via this, you know, landing pad, and you got to make sure you can fit. Otherwise, you can't land here, and you have to haul everything manually. There's always ways around. There's always a backup plan, but just keep that in mind. All right, so let's build our storage then, right? So now we need to store this lead, and we need to get it upstairs to where we can make ammunition, let's say, right? So power is being provided to the mining equipment. Now the mining equipment needs to put its resources somewhere, and there's also the way to do this with gas, and there's also the way to do this with the liquids that you can extract too. So here's our solid storage, and we can put that right here. Boom. We can also put down a liquid storage, just for example. I'll put that down. Oh, we can't. We need more adaptive frames. But anyway, you can kind of see it, though, in this blueprint menu. We can snap that right there. That's for things like water, and this gas is kind of like for neon and whatnot. But right now we built this hopper, which is for minerals. Now, each of the different containers also have a little percentage meter on them, and they hold up to 75. So once this reads 100%, that means 75 kilos or whatnot of material have been dropped off here. But you can easily see that by just getting close and looking at it. And this is a little small to see, so you know, you can always glance at the side if you see it a little bit more full. Now we have to do what we did with the power. The system doesn't know exactly where to send all that lead. As you can see, it's completely blank. But this here is up to about 12. Oh, wow. Oh, actually, the mass is at 8 out of 10. Each of these don't weigh 1 to 1. It's 0.70, as you see on the right side. So eventually, this is going to run out of space. I know we're in space, but just hear me out. We got to connect these things together, right? So, goal 1 is to connect power to the mining equipment. Goal 2 is to connect the mining equipment to the hopper. And goal 3 is to connect the raw resource, the lead, upstairs to one of our benches or whatnot, so it can be made into ammo. And then we can make an outgoing or an export warehouse. Now, I think I don't have that unlocked at the moment. We might need to do a little bit of research on that. But basically, there's a small warehouse that you can make that can hold 75 as well. And then if we wanted to, we could set up like a trade route to sell guns and ammo. Ah, here it is right here. So you can see this also takes adaptive frames. But this as well can be the final end of our products. And so we can then put that connected to the landing strip or whatnot, the little shuttle, and that can export all the things that we make, like guns or pharmaceuticals, and then they'll come and pick that up from there and put it on their ship, or rather on the landing pad, and then take it from there. So yeah, it's long and convoluted, but not too complicated. Once you've done it once, you're a pro at it. So let's get these things connected then, right? So we're going to go ahead and connect this. And we go ahead and right-click here. I'll get out of here, sir. We want to go to our other menu. Now we want to create an output link. So if we right-click and click here, boom, we've done it. We are a master. Now all we have to do is the same thing with this container upstairs, as I had mentioned, and then we can do it with the manufacturing down to another container for a warehouse. But we don't have to do that. We can also do this, which allows us to do a little manufacturing outside, the simple fabricator. So this thing is like the workbench that I made the adaptive frame on, and I'm just going to put this down here just to showcase it. Now, this is not on because we're not producing enough power, but you can see that we can make all the things that we were able to upstairs and possibly more, and do it more quickly with this machine. So we're going to have to make another power source and then provide that with power. But we can link these two together. So just like we had before, we're going to go back to our outpost menu. And we're going to make it so this can connect to here. Cool. Yeah, so power comes from the solar panel to the switch, to the mining equipment, to the hopper, to the manufacturing thing, and then we can make things like those adaptive frames that we need. But unfortunately, we need some more power too. So let's get to that. So let's make something like our little power unit. Maybe a wind turbine. We'll do that for a little variety. And we'll put that over here. And it'll automatically start working because the power plant, the wind turbine, will be providing to the whole base rather than the particular equipment that we've selected. Now you can hear it working, right? Yep. So this thing won't just work with one resource. We also have to put in... let's say instead of lead we were mining iron, we'd also have to put in aluminum, so we can basically do the same thing with another hopper, and we can have this create one thing. So we can have you know, iron and aluminum come in and make those adaptive frames, and then this will just constantly make that and put it out into one of the storage warehouse bins, And then we can come back and collect those from time to time. So good idea to scale up as much as you can. So yeah, imagine this. We're only this far into just making like 2 pieces of equipment. Oh yeah, photo mode. Pretty. There we go. All right, let's go ahead and take a look then at the base. I want to go back into this view. That's what I was trying to do. Cool. And we can actually see the whole base. So now you can imagine what it would be like to set up multiple extractors, multiple power plants, and multiple HABs. And we can do so in an area that's about this big. I'm going to kind of try to go around the edge. You can see this light line kind of in the middle of the screen. It almost looks pink or red, or a rusty color. And so we've got quite a large area that we can build in. And so that means we have access to a lot of resources just within this circle. And yeah, so we've got quite a bit of room to branch out. We've kind of tucked ourselves in the corner, but we've got a lot more area. Ooh, boy, that's a big boy right there. But yeah, those defensive turrets would shoot at those guys and keep them out of our base. Now, some of these equipment have integrity, and I'm not sure exactly how that works just yet. You see here, this guy might try to cause a little bit of damage to this thing, which does have a little bit of integrity. If we take a look here at some of the things, to which, yeah, we can even build decorations like lighting and stuff. Really cool. So there's lights up there that shine down on the solar panel, and just like how it works in real life, we can create unlimited power. That's how they make it in real life. If you take light and shine it at a solar panel, it will get 100% with no loss at all, the lighting. So the lighting will produce 100% power. Now, in this case, it's based on the, you know, the atmosphere and whatnot, but we can actually jump up there, which I've been trying to do. There we go. And, yeah, be spun around by that. So the lights up here will shine down on the solar panel and give us our power. Just like if you were to take a power strip and plug it into itself, it works the same way. Unlimited power. Nothing can stop you. So, yeah, we can do exterior decorations, interior decorations. We can put gun turrets down. With this base also being elevated off the ground, animals can walk and run under the station, too. So we get a lot of migrating animals coming through that we don't necessarily block from their, I guess, migration paths or whatever, or on the hunt, which sometimes they will kill an animal in front of us, that kind of thing. So, anyway, those are the basics of a little bit more advanced manufacturing and things to do after you've got started. Once you're getting started, once you've gotten started, this is kind of the next step, is to go out and build bases like this over and over again, which is kind of nice. They all have different specializations, and you got to build in different locations, but it's your game. You get to choose where you want to build, and the challenge is yours. Now, let's show what it's like to build a base all the way from scratch. If this has intrigued you, then perhaps this next step, all the way from the beginning, starting from scratch, base 101. Let's go. Excellent. We have done it. We've claimed this land for Raptoria. Alright, so this is the exact same spot that you saw before without a base built on it. Looks much different, doesn't it? Still dangerous creatures around, and we've got a lot of territory to work with, but it's essentially the same space, so we'll build something different here, and we'll cover what it's like to build a habitat and lay things out from scratch. Now, I'm going to have to build my base a little differently because our ship is all the way over there. You probably can't even see it, but it's all the way over that hill there behind that rock, and the ship is too large for the smaller spaceport, so we're going to need to go get a lot of materials and do things so we can actually build a spaceship landing zone here, whatever, landing pad. But we're going to start with a little habitat. So what do we do first, right? We've plopped down our little, my first base, exactly. We have our outpost marker here. We can press E here, and we can press V to see exactly what kind of space we're working with. And, yeah, same spot as before. Lots of space to build in. You can kind of see some high ground here, which is why I chose it, but I certainly fell in love with that observation post that we built at the very beginning, that habitat that allows us to see like 360 degrees. So let's go through everything here again. So as we're building now, unfortunately we don't have a layout mode. We're not able to like do any sort of blueprinting, but we can do something where we mark that we want certain materials. So if we press R, we can track what we're going to try to get in order to, or what we need in order to build certain things. So if we're going to build a lot of extractors, it requires aluminum, benzene, and membrane. So we can kind of start tracking that. So if we wanted to come back later, we can definitely do that. But in this case, we're not going to. We're going to move on to the next one. So we have ourselves extractors. We have power, which we can build a little bit later when we do our mining, like I showed you. We have storage, which was all the stuff we covered before for solids and liquids, whatnot. We have ourselves an outpost airlock, and then we have multiple habs, too, which can be built with different types of styles. Some of them have different types of styles, like, for example, this one's a double. We also have hydroponic habs, which, of course, are the ones that are a little bit more like the science lab. And as you saw that one before, that's the one where we put windows in that one with the research center. So we can do hydroponic labs, or just greenhouses, or just kind of like a nice observation post, kind of a lobby or whatnot. We have the science habs, which are small or flat. We also have a military hab, although we'll need a lot more titanium to build that. Certainly a lot more defended against enemies, so if you're in a hostile area, perhaps you could build this as your bedroom and put turrets all over with a bunch of windmills and solar panels or whatnot. We also have access to the round hab, which you saw earlier, except it looked a little more like this. Yeah, kind of a nicer hab, but of course if you want to build it like this, you can do that too. And I don't think you can put one on top of the other. I think we tried to do that, so unfortunately I don't think we can build like one here and then build another one on top of it. But what we can do is we can make it a little taller if we want to. So once we plop it down, you can press W and S to kind of extend or lower it. You can make it a little too tall, and certainly it doesn't need to be so high, especially if you build it on the edge of a hill. But it really reminds me of like a house in LA in like the 70s or 60s when they were trying different houses. So it's certainly got a nice look to it. But if we don't want to put it there, we can just scroll through to go to other things, such as the small hex lab. We have industrial hallways, military, science, and hydroponic, and then also a watchtower, which is kind of like an observation post, or you can make it next to your landing pad to make it almost act as an ATC, an air traffic control tower or whatnot. And it looks pretty cool too. Not to mention you'll be able to shoot from it and maybe use it as like a panic room or whatnot as you're being chased up to the top. Who knows? But anyway, let's go back to our hab round. I'm still in love with this idea of building a glass structure, so we're going to try to put this on the edge in the rocks there a little bit. And I think we'll build it like this. Perfect. And we'll bring it up a little higher, maybe as high as we can go. And boom, that's one done. Now we can build another one next to this. If we left click, it rotates and brings it to a different section all the way around it. But we can also hit escape to cancel that menu and take a look at what we built. Now there's no way into this structure without building an airlock, so we're going to need to think about how we want to get in there. And I didn't see any pieces that work like as a ramp or an incline or stairs. So we could put an airlock just on the side of this to get up there. And so we got to be a little bit creative. Some of the things, like for example those hallways, don't allow us to make like T intersections, and like I mentioned, there's no ramps or external elevators or ladders or whatnot. So we got to be a little bit more creative with how we do things, and I'm okay with that. And hopefully we get more options in the future too, because this is good, but it could be great, and that's really what I'm hoping for here. All right, let's continue on with some more hab stuff. So we can do some structures. I think what we'll do now is we'll go to the hydroponic hab A, and maybe we'll make it a... no, I want to make the science, just like we had before. But we'll make this one square. And maybe we'll put it here. Perfect. And then let's try to make an airlock. And as you can see, a large stairwell gets placed down there. And the game does its best to try to make it all the way to the bottom. It looks like this is a little too tall, so we'd have to jump. Let's try the other side. Closer. And still not good enough, but better. Actually better over on that side. But additionally, what we can keep doing too is we can build our habitats a little further out. So we could put another round habitat over here and try to build it to where there's a hill. There's a lot of solutions we can make. But as you can see too, the game does its best to try to delete rocks and other things that are on the ground that impede your vision near the building, and also to try to clear it so it looks like the construction is legitimate. It looks like it's also auto-snapping too, and I don't see a way to actually turn that off, but we can also change our variance via Q and T too. And there's the modify mode, although that does not allow us to, if we hold shift, it would be nice to not snap. But if you get anywhere close to it, it does attempt to snap. So let's go ahead and try the outpost airlock on this side, just for demonstration purposes. It's okay. And if we don't like it, again, remember, we get all of our resources back, so we don't have to worry about that. Oh. I don't want that to be there. There we go. Perfect. Alright, so we have a little bit of a observation tower and maybe like a little bit of a bedroom or a briefing room or something like that. And we still need to build our airlock. I guess it didn't put it down for us. I've enjoyed trying to get creative with the problem solving here for some of the things the game presents to us with some of its early game limitations, but this worked out pretty good, I think. And this, yeah, this looks like it's a pretty good spot. Alright, into the airlock. Nice. So now from here, if we want to, we can stay inside where it's safe, perhaps, where we won't be attacked while we're building, just in case any sort of crazy bounty hunters come down, or if there's inclement weather, or if there's maybe, I don't know, a dinosaur alien attack, who knows. We can then start building from inside, but do it outside. But remember, we can modify buildings too. So we do have the option to put in some of those fancy walls. So if we go into the construction view again, and if we go into modify, we can then change these a little bit more. So we have different variants here. We can go into change that. If we hit E, get a nice little window there. But we won't be able to do that here. Although we can change the door. Ooh, I didn't know that. Kind of nice. We make a narrow door. We can make a larger door. Or we can make a massive door. Cool. So it can almost be more for cargo. Nice. I didn't know we could do that. And we might be able to do the same with the airlock, perhaps. Nope. Unfortunately, that has to just be small. But it gives us a nice view of what we... Yeah, look at that. See, now we got... Yeah, all these critters walking around. It's kind of cool. It's like we're at the zoo or something like that. So while we're inside, we can keep building containers. We can keep moving some things off the ship. Remember, our ship is nearby. It's far away, though. I mean, it's nearby, but it's still far away. We got to walk all the way from there to bring all of our resources all the way across the desert to, like, a bunch of storage crates or something like that in order to get it off the ship and then into here. But we also have the option to build that large space landing zone, which we could delete later. You know, we could plop it down nearby. And remember, because we get a full refund, we can put it down on the ground. We can land our ship here. We can offload all of our stuff and then delete that later after we leave our ship, and then land back here and like teleport back here when we're not over encumbered. Once you've made your base, it will appear on the menu. So as you can see here, my first base, we have a couple of landing areas where the ship is parked out on the ground, but eventually we can land here so long as our ship can fit, either if it's 40 meters or less on a small platform, or if the ship is on a larger platform like the large round one that you saw earlier. So yeah, no ladders, no elevators, but no problem. I guess we can just still take the stairs, and that's okay. Additionally, we can make catwalks like you may have seen before, the interconnected sections. But we can also build more on the ground, so we don't necessarily have to make this all interconnected. This could be perhaps a mess hall and a meeting area or something for all of our people. Let's just say it was a science lab. We're not going to do mining here, and we just want to build a beautiful research base on a planet that's gorgeous like this one is. Yeah, then we can have all of our science teams meet here and, you know, that kind of thing. If that's what you want to roleplay, why not? I mean, it's already an RPG, right? You're already halfway there. Go back to the menu then and build some stuff on the ground. So we can build some solar panels down here. We've got plenty of room to build stuff. I think we should do the 4-wall hab. And I think we should do a double level on that and see what it looks like with it being double tall. I haven't seen this before, so I'd be curious to see how it would connect to things. Let's try to build it over here. And let's try to build another one next door. Cool. And then let's try to do a smaller hab. Ah, look at that. So we can build one on the top or the bottom. Nice. So we could either have the entrance on the bottom level, or if we go up a little higher, we can have it on the upper levels too. Now how exactly did I do that? Ah, left clicking. I see. So we can almost raise the elevation of that too, which is quite unique. Well, let's place that there. And let's do another airlock at the bottom. Now, I hope for more options, like, for example, changing the orientation of the stairs to be in a different direction, or to change it to a ladder or whatnot, but this is okay for now. And I'm just curious to see what these buildings look like. And these almost look like they were made out of fabric, and they still do, almost like wood or whatnot, but as you can see, they kind of look bulletproof, or at least resistant. A couple of dents here rather than full rounds penetrating, but I would still build the military base if you wanted to make a whole functioning facility that had all sorts of different looks to it. Again, this could be like the command center or the ATC. This could be like maybe a barracks or something, or bunks for the troops. Whatever you wanted to roleplay. You know, you don't have to just say it's for you or just one or two other crew members. It seems like they built these with a lot of things in mind. Ah, interesting. Okay. Wow, that's very interesting. So these habs actually are 2 stories tall. And they're interconnected. They're not like 2 floors with like a stair on the side. I hope we can maybe customize this a little bit more. Let's actually take a look and see if we can go into the building mode and change the flooring. Hopefully. Ah, it doesn't look like we can. Oh no. You know what would be great here is the option to remove this stairwell here, if we can. I don't think we can, but this would be great to make this floor completely flat, and that a room down there as well. And then that way we have one whole room up here, and then maybe if we could nudge this stairwell over to the right side, and then make this room a half room, we would have like a room and a half, and then a stairwell to the bottom, to where then we would have just a, you know, almost another full room down here and a completely full room down here as well. Maybe it's a fire hazard, I don't know. Also, it looks like this will probably give us, yeah, like the little windows, which look really weird. Oh, almost looks like a prison cell. Yeah, that definitely looks like a prison cell. Or that we're getting ready to meet dinosaurs from Jurassic Park, which I guess is appropriate for this world. But whatever. Yeah, if we look at everything, very strange. Hopefully we get more options, though. I like what they're trying to do here so far, but I want to see a lot more. So hopefully we get more options for customization of the base. And that's not really necessarily a complaint. There's a lot of things that we can do already, and I want to see more. And we can add like a corridor or a hallway onto that. And we can also add all sorts of things like posters, some of which can be on the outside, like the lights and some of these posters, and some can be on the inside. So if you really want to go for full immersion, you can add everything from dart boards and maybe, I don't know, a pool table or like a laundry basket or whatnot in your crew's quarters, but then also whiteboards for your scientists and other machines that make it look like a med bay or something. Pretty cool. Alright, I'd like to go for, what were we looking for? Oh, and mannequins. Ah, you can make target practice. Cool. That actually probably would work. Note to self, we'll plop that down for later. Oh, yeah. Oh, a display case? Yeah, nice. Now, another thing to mention real quick, too, is not only can we store some of our things in those storage containers, but we can also put things on the wall or in these... I hope we can put these in this display case, too. There's weapons racks where we can put weapons on the racks as well as ammunition as additional storage. So if there's a really cool gun that you've got and you want to put it on display, such as this one, you can definitely do it that way. Unfortunately, no damage records there, but the mannequin does allow you, I think, to put space. Yeah, you can actually put your spacesuit on there. So if you want to put a helmet and your spacesuit on there, you can put it on display. So you can put that in your room or something like that and put armor that you're not using. Like, for example, this Mantis armor. Does anyone know how to get that? Does anyone know? Yeah, the Mantis outfit is phenomenal and great for early games. So if you want to know how to do that, again, make sure you subscribe for more of Starfield and some other tips. I want to make a video on how to get that, so if you think it'd be a good idea, if you want to know, or if you And if you know and want me to do it for other people, just let me know, or tell us all down below in the comments section. Very cool stuff. All right, well, we've got a lot more to explore in this game. We've got planets, of course, that are made of different materials. They have different types of water qualities and whatnot, but at least this is one that we can go out with a breath of fresh air and explore at our own leisure. Now, keep in mind, too, another thing to consider when you enter a system might be the level, too. Right now, I'm around level 20, 22. This is a level 40 planet, but I haven't had too much trouble coming down here and actually kind of fortifying it or whatnot, so it's been all right. So it's not too much of a problem to really just go to somewhere. Maybe you have to get through some pirates who are blocking the planet itself, but once you've won that combat, you can land and then start setting up your defenses and whatnot. Now, there's not walls or gates, and there's no bridges and catwalks and ladders and such, but I feel like a lot of player feedback like that hopefully will bring it in from the basics, which is, of course, buildings for manufacturing and for research, and as a safe house, like a bed and maybe a cool kitchen and some other things that you can decorate, can then turn into something like a fully functioning base where you can then send out vehicles or something, in the case of which we currently can do by recruiting people to, you know, work these bases and then have things shipped back and forth from distant planets to then be turned into things like ammunition or new guns or something like that, which is always pretty cool. So nice stuff. So yeah, now that this is my home planet, other things that I want to do include going around and finding all the plants, to which there are 8, the creatures, to which there are 8, and resources, to which there are 8 as well. And all of these planets do have different biomes too, so some were wondering if each of the planets were kind of like the moon planet that's just the moon, or a planet that's just the forest planet, or the city planet. No, a lot of these are multi-biome. So if you click anywhere, you'll be able to see. Unfortunately, I won't be able to now because I'm over encumbered, but if you wanted to take off, it would say something like swamp, or forest, or plains, or desert, or rocky desert, or mountains, that kind of thing, or volcanic, something along those lines. So you can find all sorts of different places to build on a planet that's somewhat gorgeous. But look for planets that are temperate, that have O2 of some sort, and have maybe a good magnetosphere, which will protect you from radiation, so you can kind of walk around and just chill, even if you're in the sun. Nice. All right, everyone. Well, that is my time here for today for our first look at base building in Starfield. Let me know any questions you have. Let me know any techniques that I may have missed, or some things that you found out that you want to add to the conversation down below. We had limited time today to cover this, so make sure you check out the channel for longer live streams. We've been playing this for hours at a time, and there's so much to learn, for everything from shipbuilding, base building, armor building, and manufacturing, and so much more, and we'd love for you to subscribe. So, glory to Raptoria down below in the comments section if you made it this far. Most probably haven't, so if you did, definitely give a shout out down below. Let me know what you think about the bases, the building, the different types of outposts, all the materials, all the different decorations, and your thoughts on Starfield as a whole. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks to Bethesda for sponsoring, and I hope to see you all in our next live stream. We're going to continue on building beautiful bases, so I hope to see you there. All right, well, wherever you are in the world, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. And thank you so much, so much for watching. Goodbye, everybody. Take care, and I'll see you out there.